Okay, we are restoring a Viscount dual van, restoring, rebuilding, and as a part of that we had to replace the curved windows. After putting a photo of this window up that I did on the weekend, had several people asking for a video of how I did it. So here goes. By all means, I am no expert. This is just what I did after reading different threads and trying a few different things out. So that is the window completed. Pretty happy with it. Got a really nice clean bend. So the first thing I did was pull the existing window apart, got the old piece of Perspex out of it and built a jig using that. So just use the curve, cut it out. I'll put up some photos of this as well if people want to see it in a bit more detail. But yeah, so just followed the curve of the existing window, put some supports inside. This backing here is just a thin piece of aluminium that we actually pulled out of the van when we were pulling it apart. So put that, bent that over the curve. I then had some wool felt type material, so it is 100% wool, which means it is flame resistant, which it needs to be when you use the heat gun. Don't use cotton or anything like that because it will catch on fire. Just had to pause there quickly because the kids are having a tiff. So had these two pieces of thick chipboard laying around, just cut them to the size I wanted, and again covered them in the felt just to help protect the plastic. So that's just what the jig looks like. Got these bits here because we will put clamps on there in a minute. Alright, I'm going to try and set this camera up so we can do the next bit. When I did the first one I did have help, so we'll see how this goes. Alright, so have your piece of 3mm Perspex, goes down in between here. Make sure that you have the bottom nice and flat on there, or your curve will end up being a bit skewy. And then just attach it with these two clamps. Now this next bit is the fiddly bit, and like I said last time I had help. But basically what we're going to do is just cold bend this over and clamp this top piece on. The first time I did it, I did try having it like this, using the heat gun, heating it up and bending it over. I was a bit skeptical about what might happen, and I was right. Essentially really hard to get an even heat using the heat gun. So as it bent, where it was hotter and cooler, you get an uneven bend, and I'm not sure if you can see on here, but it ends up being kind of wavy, the bend, which I really wasn't happy with. So we thought we'd try it this way. So I'm going to give this a go on my own and see if we can get it. So not going too hard, but just gradually bending it over. Now getting these clamps on, oh gosh, it's going to be a tricky bit. Sure that they are really nice and tight, and I did put one on the back here as well. Alright, so I've got a nice tight bend. Then basically what I did, I'm not going to turn the heat gun on now because it does make a bit of noise, but just using the heat gun, keeping it at about this kind of distance. Takes a while, back and forth, so must sound silly, but the way I figured it out to try and get an even heat over all of it was 20 back and forths in each section. So 20 here, so that's one, and then up all the way, and just did that the whole way over the bend. I'll probably moving kind of at about that speed. You don't want to hold it in one spot too long, because if it gets too hot, it will blister, which would look really horrible. So once I did that, then allowed it to cool until it is completely cooled down. Take the clamps off. I guess I'll do this one and then I'll show you that part in the next video. So it's nice and cool now. Not sure if you can see on the video, but when I was heating it, it did pull back a tiny bit from the jig here. It didn't really do that when I did it the first time, and I think maybe it's because I had to bend it over and put the clamps on myself. It might not have been quite as tight. It's not going to be a problem though once we put it in the frame and everything. So take the clamps off. When we take this off, it is going to spring back. It's not going to stay in that exact shape, but like I said, it's bent enough so that once we put it in the frame, it'll be fine. So you can see that spring back there. It's really not too much. And there we have it. Our bent Perspex ready to go into the frame. This job probably easier again if you've got 4 hands. Extra help, but we should be right doing it on our own. Just slipping the Perspex back in. This one on the top. Just needing to make sure that it's not going to be in the way. Screws. Put your side ones in, do the screws up, and the last bit to finish her off is putting the rubber in. By the way, definitely easier having someone help when you're screwing these frames on, just to help keep it together, but we got there in the end. So I'm using the P40 rubber just from local Glazier. After reading again threads on there, and I ordered the sample pack off eBay of the different ones and tried them, and then reading through some threads, and there was a couple people on there recommended this P40. Thought I'd give it a go. It's not super tight to get in, so it's not really hard, but it is a nice firm fit, and I paid $1 a meter instead of $3.30 a meter like you pay off eBay. So I'm thinking it's going to be good. With putting the rubber in, one thing with these curved windows I would recommend is starting at the top, not at the bottom, because you want your join to be at the top, not where water's going to sit. And don't join it in the middle on the curve, because the split's going to want to pull open. So do it on either one of the bit of the flat sides. And in we go, all the way around. And I'll do one last little bit to show you what it looks like when it's finished. It is finished product. So like I said, my join is at the top here, so water can't be getting in there. When you're putting the rubber in, something to be conscious of is when you're using your roller. I prefer to roll back so if I'm coming down this way, roll back that way, just to make sure that I'm not stretching the rubber, because if you stretch it, once it's in the sun for a while, it's going to want to pull, and that's when you get it pulling out of the corners there. So really making sure that you're not stretching the rubber as you put it in, because you really don't want it doing that, because then you're just going to have to redo it. That's about all I can think of, really. So there she is, all finished. Like I said, not a professional. This is the second one I've done. But I'm pretty happy with it, and I guess time will tell as to see how she weathers.